You should see the looks on your faces. Priceless. I'd heard that your whole life flashes before your eyes just before you die. Personally, I doubted it. I'd already died once, and I was quite thankful that I hadn't had to relive every embarrassing moment in 99. Then again, they also say practice makes perfect. So I suppose that it shouldn't have been a surprise that after getting blown up, I'd see it. Except that perfect apparently required more practice than I'd gotten so far, since the life I was seeing was not mine. Figures. I could see and hear, but that was all. It was almost like being in a memory orb, but I couldn't tell who or even what my host was. Flim and Flam paced back and forth nervously, plucking up their business suits. The middle-aged stallions were looking like they were visibly aging from stress as I watched. "I can't believe she's coming here. Why here? Why now of all times?" wailed the mustachioed Flam. I don't know. She simply demanded to see us in person about one of those products," Flim muttered in worry. "It can't be the Spocola Flash line, can it? Maybe she found out about some of the side effects," Flam gasped. "You don't think she's here to share for the profits? I thought she signed off on that." "Well, there is some question as to if she actually signed on or not, but legal assures us that it should stand up in court. Probably. 60% chance," Flim said. The yellow unicorn rubbed his nose and then yelled, "Where is he? He's supposed to prevent all this, right? This was part of our deal." "He'd better," said Flam, who then sat hard and wrung his hoofs together. "I can't believe it. Everything was going so well. Sure, the Night Stalkers could show a better overhead, but we've been making a mint dropping their eggs in zebra population areas. We've got a whole new line of poison joke products starting next month. And the Scorpio sprites have been working like a charm behind the lines. Maybe we can get through to Rainbow Dash and talk to her," and suddenly there was a purple flash, and Twilight Sparkle appeared. I had to admit, though I'd seen her several times, I'd never seen her looking so scary. Her mane had streaks of gray, and wrinkles had set in around her eyes and mouth. Worst of all, though, was the hard look in her eyes. It made me wonder if she was going to just turn the pair to stone or something with that glare. "Ah, Ministry Mayor Twilight Sparkle! So nice to see you. We were just talking about how happy we are to have such an intellect as yourself visit us." Flim grinned widely. "Let us formally welcome you to Hippocampic Research, where we conduct science effectively." "Efficiently," piped up Flam. "And ethically," they finished in unison. Twilight's lips didn't budge in the slightest. You could almost see the nervous sweat popping out on their foreheads. Flam's telekinesis pushed a button on his terminal, and music began to play. "If either of you starts to sing, I'm sending you to Pinkie Pie," she said without missing a beat, and the $2 froze. Twilight's horn glowed as she pressed the same button and silenced the music. A pair of glasses and a clipboard appeared, the former settling on her muzzle as she examined the latter. "I've sent 6 letters, 4 polite inquiries, and 5 formal requests. And now I'm here in person to get my questions answered. What is flux? How is it made?" The $2 went from looking nervous to looking sick. Flim tapped his hoofs together. "Well, you see, first we take very precise assortment of gems and liquefy them into our proprietary superflux recombobulator matrix, which does nothing," Twilight interrupted. "I've examined all the formal documents you've submitted on flux over the last decade. Every single one. And I've concluded that I've never seen a larger collection of gibberish in my life." "Oh, you couldn't really have read," Flam began, then he met Twilight's flat gaze. His mustache drooped so much that I thought it would simply drop off. "Every single one?" "Yes, every one. I've gone over all your submissions and patents and formulas trying to duplicate your process for producing flux. I've studied your production in minute detail and come here to the conclusion that it doesn't matter how many gems you liquefy or rainbows you mix together, there is no way that you can produce a substance like flux from those raw materials." And the clipboard disappeared as she looked at the twin brothers, over the tops of her glasses. So I'm here, gentle colts, in person, to find out exactly what flux is and how you make it. The pair gave her a sickly smile. If we may ask, by any chance have you spoken with the director about all this? Flim asked weakly. I don't need to involve Horse, thank you very much. I'm quite capable of handling this on my own. The two shared a look. No, not him. I mean the other director? Flim winced as her gaze sharpened. A golden flash came from beneath the door in the hall. Golden Blood is no longer director of anything, and any day now I expect him to be thrown in a dungeon, exiled, or thrown into a dungeon wherever he's exiled, she shouted as her mane bristled. Oh, I doubt I'll get off so lightly, rasped the familiar bastard. It was slightly mollifying to see that Golden Blood looked every bit as battered and exhausted as Twilight. His golden mane was disheveled, and his suit looked as though it had been slept in. My apologies for being late. You, Twilight said, with more outright loathing than I'd ever heard before. You're not late. You don't need to be here at all, she snapped. You can take your sneaky bag of tricks and go, Golden Blood. He stared into her hard gaze, then his lips curled slowly. Luna didn't tell you, did she? The question seemed to shock and unsettle her. He looked at her with an odd, amused expression that made me want to kick and scream and kick the scarred unicorn stallion. Then he chuckled softly and shook his head. Let me guess. She said that she had no idea how hippocampic research produced flux, and that she would have Horse forward the information to you. Anger knit the mare's brows as she glared at him. He did, and it was all garbage. The same garbage that I've gotten from you for over a year, she said as she pointed a hoof at him. You were supposed to give me everything about Chimera, Golden Blood. Everything means everything. She swung a hoof dramatically. Your obstruction is why you were removed. His smile didn't change. It was the most poisonous smile I'd ever seen. And yet, even with me gone, you're still having problems with making alicorns. The look was like a poisoned dagger in her chest. I've examined every aspect of the project as it pertains to transformations and fusions, even improved on some aspects. What we don't need, the mega spell for the transformation, just for the creation of the metamorphic potion. But I've broken down every ingredient of the potion, adjusted and examined and readjusted my findings, and tracked down every one of its constituent elements, all but one. Metamagical flux, which is identical to biomagical flux and transmogrificational flux. You just put on different colored labels, she said with a glare at the twins. It was a marketing decision, I think, Flim muttered weakly. And the more I've worked with this stuff, the more I've come to realize how dangerous it is. Do you have any idea what happens to ponies exposed to it? Mutations. Do you know what it did to Sunny Days? I had to waste time and resources devising a spell just to try and negate its effects. And it's used everywhere, Golden Blood. Manufacturing, energy production, medicine, food. She paused and fixed the twins with her glare. Sparkle Cola. The pair looked as if they wanted a floor to swallow them up. But then her glare returned to Golden Blood. I've been using it for myself for all these years, and now only realized that I don't have a clue what it is or how it works. But that ends today. She stomped her hoof. If all of you don't tell me exactly what the big secret is, then my next stop is a meeting with Luna and Pinkie Pie. We'll find out whatever it is you're hiding here. Golden Blood looked at her, then said quietly, Twilight, go back to Canterlot. You're making great progress on your stealth suit. Focus on that. Relax and forget all about hippocampic research and flux. You don't want to know, and you don't want to force this. How can you know that? She gaped at him. You're not the director anymore, Golden Blood. You have no authority in Equestria anymore. He didn't move. He didn't even blink. If anything, his eyes were pitying rather than hard, and slowly she took a step back. No. I have to know. The IMP project has to work. It simply has to. There's nothing else that will end this war. I'll get all my friends, and we'll put this place under a microscope if we have to. I'll get Princess Luna, too. Give it up, Twilight, Goldenblood said softly. It may have been just me, but for a moment it sounded as if he were pleading with her. You've done great and incredible things, Twilight. It might have been a kind statement, but it seemed to strike her like a blow. Great and incredible? She suddenly laughed, her mane frizzing even more. I've done nothing! Nothing! For 5 years now. Nothing since Big Macintosh died. My friends have accomplished more to help protect Equestria than I have. It's my responsibility to come up with magic that will save Equestria. And that's what I promised Luna when I established the Ministry of Arcane Science. But even about everything she's done for me, I'm no closer to giving Luna what she needs to end this war. Don't you understand? I'm a failure. I knew that look on her face. She might not have been on a mattress, but she was fighting hard to stay off it. Goldenblood gave the brothers a single look that promised them a trip down an elevator shaft. I saw the two unicorns share a glance, one magically sliding the Twilight bobblehead out of sight, and then they started to study the ceiling as if it was the most fascinating thing they'd ever laid their eyes on. Only then did Goldenblood look back at the mare fighting so damned hard for everybody else. He stared at her for another long moment. I'm sorry, Twilight. I really am. He closed his eyes and seemed to be thinking of something. I've never seen a buck look more odd. Goldenblood looked tired, not just in body, but in spirit too. We're doing all we can to save Equestria, even if some of us have become monsters in the process. Then he looked at the brothers. Show her. Twilight lifted her head, staring at him in confusion. The brothers shuffled nervously. I'm not sure that's... Flynn began, but Goldenblood silenced him with a look. That we should delay a second longer. We can use our own private elevator to speed the process along. Yes, the sooner we're done, the better. The brother tapped the keys on his terminal and opened the elevator door. But why? Twilight asked in quiet disbelief, looking at him in amazement. Why are you showing me this now? Because I owe you, he replied quietly as he walked to the elevator door. And I'm sorry.